Shadows of Asher Hall. Chapter 1. A Noble Birth. Eliza was a little girl. She lived in a big old house in the Scottish Highlands. Her house was very big and beautiful. Eliza was the only child of the Duke and Duchess of Strathmore. They were her mom and dad. They wanted a boy, but they had Eliza. One day, Eliza sat near the window in the living room. She looked outside. The trees were tall, and the sky was gray. "Why do you look sad, Eliza?" her mother asked. Her mother was tall and always wore beautiful dresses. "I don't know, Mother. I just feel alone," Eliza said softly. Her mother came and sat next to her. She did not smile. "You have everything, Eliza. Big house, nice clothes. You should be happy." "I wish I had a friend," Eliza whispered. Her mother did not hear her. She was looking at her phone. Her mother said, but she was not listening. Eliza felt sad. She knew her parents wanted a boy, not a girl. This made her feel unimportant. She looked outside again. The wind moved the trees. Eliza wished she could be like the wind, free and strong. That night, Eliza heard her parents talking. "We need a son," her dad said. He was a big man with a loud voice. "Yes, a son would be better," her mother agreed. Eliza felt a small tear on her cheek. She wiped it away quickly. "I will show them. I will be important too," she thought to herself. This chapter shows how Eliza feels in her big house with her parents. She feels lonely and not very important, but she wants to be strong and show her parents she is important too. Chapter 2. The Arrival of a Cousin. One sunny morning, Eliza was playing alone in the garden. She loved the garden because it was full of flowers and butterflies. As she was playing, a carriage came down the long road to her house. It was black and looked very old. Eliza stopped playing and watched. A young girl about her age stepped out of the carriage. She had red hair and wore a green dress. Eliza felt excited. Maybe this was a friend. "Who are you?" Eliza asked as she walked towards the girl. "I'm Margaret," the girl replied with a smile. "I am your cousin. I will live with you now." Eliza smiled back. "Do you want to play with me?" she asked hopefully. "Yes, I would love to," Margaret said. They played in the garden all day. They laughed and ran around. Eliza felt very happy. She finally had a friend. That night, Eliza and Margaret sat together for dinner with Eliza's parents. "We are happy you are here, Margaret," said Eliza's dad, smiling for the first time in a long time. "Thank you, Uncle," Margaret replied politely. "Margaret's parents are in heaven now," Eliza's mom explained quietly to her. "I'm sorry, Margaret," Eliza said, looking at her cousin. "It's okay," Margaret replied. "Now I have you and Aunt and Uncle." Eliza felt her heart grow warm. She was not alone anymore. She had a cousin and a friend. They would be like sisters. That night, as Eliza lay in bed, she thought, "I am so happy Margaret is here. I hope we will always be friends." She fell asleep with a big smile on her face. This chapter shows how Eliza's life changes with Margaret's arrival. They become friends quickly. Eliza feels happy and not alone anymore. She looks forward to having fun with her new cousin. Chapter 3. The Season in Edinburgh. One morning, Eliza and Margaret were in the garden picking flowers. They were laughing and talking about the birds. Then Eliza's mother came outside. "Girls, we are going to Edinburgh next week," she announced. "What is in Edinburgh?" Margaret asked curiously. "It is a big city. There are many people and beautiful buildings," Eliza's mother explained. "You will meet other boys and girls. It is a special time for young ladies to meet new friends." Eliza and Margaret looked at each other and smiled. They were excited to see the city and meet new people. The next week, they went to Edinburgh. It was a big and busy city. There were many carriages and people everywhere. The buildings were tall and grand. "Look at all the lights," Margaret said as they walked down a busy street. "Yes, it's so different from home," Eliza replied, looking around in wonder. They went to a big ball in a large hall. There were many girls in beautiful dresses and boys in fine suits. Music played, and everyone was dancing and talking. "May I have this dance?" a boy asked Margaret. "Yes, thank you," Margaret said, and went to dance. Eliza stood alone for a moment. Then a kind boy came to her. "Would you like to dance?" he asked with a smile. "Yes, I would," Eliza said, feeling a bit shy but happy. They danced together, and Eliza felt like she was flying. The music was lovely, and the boy was very nice. After the dance, they sat down. "I'm Tom," the boy said. "What's your name?" "I'm Eliza. It's nice to meet you, Tom," she replied. "It's nice to meet you too. Do you like Edinburgh?" Tom asked. "Yes, it's very exciting," Eliza said with a smile. They talked for a long time. Eliza felt happy. She was making new friends. That night, when they went back to their room, Eliza and Margaret talked about the ball. "I had so much fun," Eliza said. "Me too. Everyone was so nice," Margaret added. They were both tired but very happy. They knew they would have a good time in Edinburgh. This chapter shows Eliza and Margaret experiencing the excitement of a new city and making new friends. They enjoy the beauty and the fun of the social season, feeling happy and welcomed. Chapter 4. The Mysterious Suitor. One evening, Eliza and Margaret went to another big ball in Edinburgh. The room was full of lights and music. People were dancing and laughing. Eliza wore a blue dress, and Margaret wore a yellow dress. They both looked very pretty. As they entered the room, a tall man with dark hair watched them from across the room. He looked very interesting and a little mysterious. He walked over to them. "Good evening," he said with a smile. "My name is Lord Asher. May I have the honor of dancing with you?" he asked, looking at Eliza. Eliza felt a little nervous, but excited. "Yes, thank you," she replied. Lord Asher took her hand, and they started dancing. He was a very good dancer. Eliza forgot her nerves and enjoyed the dance. "You dance very well," Lord Asher said. "Thank you, sir. You dance well too," Eliza replied. "Do you like Edinburgh?" Lord Asher asked. "Yes, it's very beautiful and exciting," Eliza said. "I'm glad to hear that. It's one of my favorite cities," Lord Asher told her. After the dance, they sat down to talk. "Where is your home?" Eliza asked. "I live in a big house in the north. It's called Asher Hall," he explained. "That sounds like a beautiful place," Eliza said, curious about his mysterious home. "It is. Maybe one day you can see it," Lord Asher said with a smile. Eliza smiled back. She felt interested in Lord Asher. He was kind and very polite. When the night ended, Lord Asher said, "I hope to see you again, Miss Eliza." "I hope so too, Lord Asher," Eliza replied. As they walked home, Margaret asked, "What did you think of Lord Asher?" "He seems very nice and a little mysterious," Eliza said, thinking about his dark eyes and kind smile. "Yes, he is very interesting," Margaret agreed. Eliza went to bed thinking about Lord Asher. She felt excited and a little bit scared. She wondered if she would see him again. This chapter shows Eliza meeting a mysterious and interesting man, Lord Asher, who takes an interest in her. They enjoy a dance and a nice conversation, sparking Eliza's curiosity about him and his home. Chapter 5. An Unexpected Proposal. One sunny afternoon, Eliza and Margaret were walking in a beautiful park in Edinburgh. The flowers were blooming, and the birds were singing. Eliza was thinking about Lord Asher. She wondered if she would see him again. Suddenly, Margaret pointed ahead. "Look, Eliza, isn't Lord Asher coming towards us?" Eliza looked up and saw Lord Asher walking towards them with a big smile. He was holding a small bouquet of flowers. "Good afternoon, Miss Eliza, Miss Margaret," he greeted them warmly. He handed the flowers to Eliza. "For you, Miss Eliza. I hope they brighten your day." "Thank you, Lord Asher. They are beautiful," Eliza said, feeling her cheeks turn red. "I am glad you like them," Lord Asher replied. "Miss Eliza, may I speak with you alone for a moment?" "Yes, of course," Eliza said. She felt curious and a little nervous. Margaret smiled and walked a little away to give them privacy. Lord Asher took a deep breath and looked into Eliza's eyes. "Miss Eliza, since we met, I have been very impressed by you. You are kind and beautiful. I feel very happy when I am with you." Eliza felt her heart beat faster. She did not expect Lord Asher to say such things. "Lord Asher, I am very surprised," Eliza said, not knowing what to say. "I understand this is sudden, but I must be honest with you. I would be honored if you would consider becoming my wife," Lord Asher said seriously. He took her hand gently. Eliza was shocked. A proposal? She had only met Lord Asher a few times, but she felt a strong connection with him. Still, she needed to think. "Lord Asher, this is a big surprise. You are very kind, and I like you too, but I need some time to think about this," Eliza said carefully. "Of course. Take all the time you need. I hope you will say yes, but I will respect your decision," Lord Asher replied, smiling kindly. "Thank you, Lord Asher. I will give you my answer soon," Eliza promised. They walked back to where Margaret was waiting. Eliza felt excited and confused. She told Margaret everything as they walked home. "Do you think I should say yes?" Eliza asked her cousin. "It's a big decision, Eliza, but Lord Asher seems like a good man. Think about it and follow your heart," Margaret advised. That night, Eliza thought about Lord Asher's proposal. She remembered his kind eyes and warm smile. She wondered if she was ready to marry him. This chapter shows Lord Asher proposing to Eliza unexpectedly. Eliza is surprised and needs time to think about her feelings and the big decision she has to make. She values Margaret's advice and begins to consider her future. Chapter 6. A New Life at Asher Hall. After much thinking and talking with Margaret, Eliza decided to say yes to Lord Asher. She felt happy and a little scared about her future. Eliza told Lord Asher her decision one morning in the same beautiful park where he proposed. "Lord Asher, I have thought a lot about your proposal. I am happy to say yes, I will marry you," Eliza said, looking into his eyes. Lord Asher's face lit up with a big smile. "Oh, Eliza, you have made me the happiest man. Thank you for trusting me with your heart," he said joyfully. They planned their wedding quickly. It was a beautiful ceremony with flowers and music. Eliza and Lord Asher promised to love and care for each other. After the wedding, Lord Asher took Eliza to his home, Asher Hall. It was a big old house in the north. It had tall towers and many windows. The house looked beautiful but also very serious. When they arrived, Lord Asher showed Eliza around the house. "This is our home now, Eliza. I hope you will be happy here," he said. Eliza smiled. "It's a wonderful house, Lord Asher. I am sure I will be happy," she replied. They walked through the big rooms and long hallways. Eliza saw beautiful paintings and old furniture. Everything was grand and old. "This is the living room, and this is the dining room. We can have dinner here tonight," Lord Asher said, showing her a large room with a long table. "It looks perfect," Eliza said, trying to imagine their new life together. But when they passed a closed door near the end of a hallway, Eliza felt curious. "What is in that room?" she asked. Lord Asher looked serious for a moment. "That's the West Wing. It is old and not safe. We do not go there, Eliza. Please remember this," he said firmly. Eliza felt surprised by his serious tone, but nodded. "I understand. I will not go there," she promised. That night, as Eliza lay in her new bedroom, she felt a mix of emotions. She was happy to be married and living in a beautiful house, but she also felt curious about the locked west wing and a little lonely in the big, quiet house. She thought about the future and hoped she had made the right decision. This chapter shows Eliza starting her new life at Asher Hall with Lord Asher. She experiences the grandeur of her new home, but also encounters the mystery of the forbidden West Wing. Her feelings of happiness are mixed with curiosity and a sense of isolation in the vast mansion. Chapter 7. Whispers of the Past. Eliza started to feel more at home in Asher Hall as the days passed. She spent her mornings exploring the gardens and her afternoons reading in the library. The house was always quiet, which made her sometimes feel lonely. One rainy afternoon, Eliza was having tea in the kitchen with Mrs. Bramley, the housekeeper. Mrs. Bramley was an older woman who knew a lot about Asher Hall. "As you're settling in, you might hear stories about the hall," Mrs. Bramley said, pouring tea into Eliza's cup. "What kind of stories?" Eliza asked, curious. "Well, the house is old, and with old houses come old stories. Some say it's haunted," Mrs. Bramley whispered, looking around as if to make sure no one else could hear. "Haunted?" Eliza's eyes widened with a mix of fear and interest. "Yes, by Lady Asher, the first wife of a previous Lord Asher. She died here under mysterious circumstances many years ago," Mrs. Bramley explained, lowering her voice even more. "How did she die?" Eliza asked, leaning closer. "They say it was a tragic accident, but some whisper it was more than that. She was found in the West Wing, which is why it's been closed off," Mrs. Bramley said, sipping her tea. Eliza remembered the locked door to the West Wing. "Is that why Lord Asher told me not to go there?" she asked. "Perhaps. It's a sad part of the hall's history, and he might not want to stir up old ghosts," Mrs. Bramley replied. Eliza thought about the closed door and the mystery behind it. "Thank you for telling me, Mrs. Bramley. It's important to know the history of where you live," she said, trying to sound braver than she felt. "Of course, my dear. It's always best to know the stories, even the scary ones. But don't you worry. We haven't seen any ghosts for a long time," Mrs. Bramley said with a smile, trying to ease Eliza's worries. That night, as Eliza lay in bed, she couldn't stop thinking about Lady Asher and the whispers of the past. She felt a chill as the wind howled outside her window. The story added a mysterious and slightly frightening layer to her new home, making her both curious and cautious about the secrets Asher Hall might hold. This chapter shows Eliza learning about the mysterious and possibly haunted history of Asher Hall, particularly about a tragic figure from the past, enhancing her sense of curiosity and unease about her new surroundings. Chapter 8. The Locked Wing. One morning, after breakfast, Eliza walked along the long, shadowy hallways of Asher Hall. The rain from the previous day had stopped, and sunlight streamed through the tall windows, casting bright patterns on the floor. Despite the sunshine, the story Mrs. Bramley told her about the West Wing echoed in her mind. As she passed the closed door to the West Wing, she stopped and stared at it. She remembered Lord Asher's firm warning, but her curiosity grew stronger each day. Just then, Lord Asher appeared from around the corner. He noticed Eliza standing near the door and quickly walked up to her. "Eliza, you must remember my warning. Please, stay away from this door," Lord Asher said, his voice serious and concerned. Eliza turned to face him, feeling a little guilty. "I'm sorry, I was just curious. Mrs. Bramley told me about the history of the house, and I couldn't help but wonder," she explained. Lord Asher softened his expression a bit. "I understand your curiosity, Eliza, but some things are better left in the past. It's for the best," he said, taking her hand gently. "Can you tell me more about it? About what happened?" Eliza asked, hoping he might share more of the story. Lord Asher looked into her eyes, searching for the right words. It was a very sad time for the Asher family. My great-grandfather's wife, Lady Asher, died in that part of the house under tragic circumstances. Since then, we have kept it closed to honor her memory and to avoid the sadness it brings. Eliza nodded, understanding his feelings. I promise I won't go there. I just wish I knew more, so I could understand better, she said sincerely. Lord Asher squeezed her hand. Maybe one day, when the time is right, I'll tell you everything. But for now, let's focus on making happy memories in the parts of the house we can share, he suggested with a hopeful smile. Eliza smiled back, feeling reassured by his words. Thank you. I would like that, she said. As they walked away from the locked door, Eliza felt a mix of relief and lingering curiosity. She knew respecting Lord Asher's wishes was important, but part of her still longed to uncover the secrets held behind the closed door. This chapter highlights Eliza's growing curiosity about the Forbidden West Wing and her respectful but probing conversation with Lord Asher about it. His explanations and their interaction deepen her understanding of the house's somber history and her relationship with Lord Asher. Chapter 9. The Portrait and the Locket. One afternoon, Eliza was exploring a less frequented part of Asher Hall. She entered a small, dusty room filled with old furniture and paintings covered with clothes. As she walked around, her curiosity grew. Pulling off a cloth, Eliza uncovered a beautiful portrait of a woman. The woman had a gentle face and wore a dress from long ago. Eliza was struck by how much the woman looked like herself. Who could this be? Eliza wondered aloud. Just then, Lord Asher walked into the room. He seemed surprised to see Eliza there and even more surprised to see the portrait. Eliza, what are you doing here? Lord Asher asked, his voice a mix of concern and curiosity. I found this portrait. She looks so much like me. Who is she? Eliza asked, turning to him with the picture. Lord Asher took a deep breath and came closer. That is Lady Asher, my great-grandfather's wife, the one I told you about, he said softly. Eliza looked back at the portrait, feeling a strange connection to it. It's incredible. I feel like she's looking right at me, she murmured. Lord Asher watched her closely, his expression thoughtful. Yes, the resemblance is remarkable. It's said she was very kind and loved by all. Eliza noticed something shiny tucked in the corner of the frame. She reached out and pulled out a small golden locket. What's this? She asked, holding it up to the light. Lord Asher looked surprised. I didn't know that was there. It must have been hers, he said, examining the locket. Eliza carefully opened it. Inside, there was a faded picture of Lady Asher and a lock of golden hair. On the inside of the locket, words were engraved, "With all my love, always." Look, there's writing here, Eliza said, showing it to Lord Asher. He read the words and sighed. She was much loved. This locket probably meant a lot to her. Eliza felt a wave of empathy for Lady Asher. It's sad, yet beautiful. I feel honored to know her story, she said, looking again at the portrait. Lord Asher nodded. I'm glad you feel that way. She was a special part of this family's history. Eliza decided to keep the locket safe. May I take care of this locket? I feel it should be cherished, she asked. Lord Asher smiled warmly. Yes, I think that would be fitting. Keep it with you. Eliza placed the locket around her neck, feeling a deep sense of connection to the past and the history of Asher Hall. This chapter reveals Eliza discovering more about the mysterious Lady Asher and finding a personal artifact that deepens her connection to the house and its history. Her interaction with Lord Asher shows their growing trust and understanding. Chapter 10. Nightly Visitations. That night, after discovering the locket and portrait, Eliza went to bed, feeling a mix of excitement and unease. The image of Lady Asher seemed imprinted in her mind, and the locket felt heavy around her neck, carrying the weight of its history. As she drifted into sleep, Eliza began to dream. In her dream, she was walking through the corridors of Asher Hall, but everything looked different, older, with candlelight flickering against the walls. Suddenly, she saw a woman standing at the end of the hallway. It was Lady Asher, looking just like her portrait. She was beautiful and sad. Eliza felt drawn to her, walking closer but unable to speak. "Lady Asher?" Eliza finally whispered in the dream. The woman turned to face her, a gentle smile on her lips. "Eliza, you have found my locket," she said, her voice soft but clear. "Yes, I found it hidden in your portrait. Why do you appear to me?" Eliza asked, her dream self feeling brave. "I came to thank you. My story was forgotten, and with you, it lives again. But be careful, dear. Not all in Asher Hall wish to remember the past," Lady Asher warned, her eyes filled with concern. "What do you mean?" Eliza asked, but the figure began to fade. "Remember, not all is as it seems." Lady Asher's voice echoed as she disappeared. Eliza woke up suddenly, her room dark except for the moonlight streaming through the window. She touched the locket at her neck, reassured by its presence, but disturbed by the dream. The next morning, Eliza met Lord Asher at breakfast. She decided to tell him about her dream, though she felt unsure. "Lord Asher, I had a dream about Lady Asher last night. She spoke to me," Eliza said hesitantly. Lord Asher looked surprised, then thoughtful. "You did? That is unusual. What did she say?" Eliza shared the details of the dream, watching Lord Asher's reaction closely. He sighed. "It seems Lady Asher's spirit is restless. Perhaps the locket has stirred memories of the past. But remember, dreams are not always what they seem. Be cautious with what you believe." "I will," Eliza replied, feeling a mix of disappointment and relief. She wondered about the warning and what secrets the hall still held. "I trust you, Lord Asher, but I also feel that I'm meant to learn more about this place and its past," Eliza said, more to herself than to him. "Perhaps you are," Lord Asher agreed, giving her a small smile. "And I will help you where I can." Eliza felt reassured by his words. She resolved to keep the locket close and to stay open to whatever messages might come, whether in dreams or reality. This chapter explores the supernatural connection Eliza feels with Lady Asher, deepening her engagement with the mysteries of Asher Hall and setting her on a path to uncovering more about its hidden past. Chapter 11. The Hidden Letters. A few days after she dreamed about Lady Asher, Eliza felt driven to learn more about the hall's history. She remembered Lord Asher's library, a room filled with old books and hidden corners. She thought it might hold some clues. While Lord Asher was out attending to estate business, Eliza went to the library. The room was quiet, with sunlight streaming through the windows and dust motes dancing in the air. She began to look through the shelves, pulling out books and feeling the weight of history in her hands. Behind a row of old novels, Eliza found a small wooden box. It was locked, but the lock was old and broken. Carefully, she opened it and found a stack of yellowed letters tied with a ribbon. Eliza sat down at the desk with the letters. She untied the ribbon and began to read. The letters were from Lady Asher to her sister. They spoke of her life at Asher Hall, her hopes, and her fears. "My dear sister," one letter read, "I find myself growing more uneasy each day. Lord Asher has been acting strangely, and there are whispers among the staff that chill my heart." Eliza felt a shiver run down her spine. She continued reading, each letter pulling her deeper into Lady Asher's world. Suddenly, she heard footsteps. Eliza quickly put the letters back into the box and slid it into its hiding place. Lord Asher entered the room. "Eliza, what are you doing here?" he asked, his expression curious. "I was just looking at some books," Eliza replied, trying to sound casual. "I love reading about history." Lord Asher smiled, but his eyes seemed to hold a question. "History can teach us much. Did you find anything interesting?" "Just old stories," Eliza said, forcing a smile. "Nothing significant." Lord Asher nodded. "Well, dinner will be ready soon. Shall we head to the dining room?" "Yes, let's go," Eliza replied, her mind still on the letters. At dinner, Eliza was quiet, lost in thought about what she had read. She knew she needed to find out more, but she had to be careful. That night, as she lay in bed, Eliza planned to go back to the library. She needed to read those letters again and understand what had truly happened to Lady Asher. The connection she felt with Lady Asher was growing stronger, and she knew she couldn't ignore it. This chapter builds suspense as Eliza discovers secret letters that could explain more about Lady Asher's mysterious past and her uneasy relationship with Lord Asher. Eliza's resolve to uncover the truth, despite the risks, sets the stage for further revelations. Chapter 12. Confronting the Truth. The next day, Eliza waited until Lord Asher was busy in his study before she slipped back into the library. Her heart was pounding as she reached for the hidden box of letters behind the old novels. She quickly took out the letters and began to read more. As she read, the letters revealed more about Lady Asher's unhappiness and fear. One letter stood out where Lady Asher wrote, "I fear for my safety, dear sister. I do not trust those around me anymore." Eliza felt a chill as she realized the depth of Lady Asher's despair. She knew she had to talk to Lord Asher about these letters. She carefully put them back and left the library. At dinner, Eliza could hardly eat. She kept thinking about how to start this difficult conversation. Finally, she took a deep breath and spoke. "Lord Asher, I need to talk to you about something important," Eliza said, her voice steady. Lord Asher looked up, surprised. "Of course, Eliza, what is it?" "It's about Lady Asher. I found some of her letters in the library," Eliza said, watching his reaction closely. Lord Asher's face changed. He looked worried and a bit sad. "I see. And what did these letters say?" "They spoke of her fears and her feelings of being unsafe here." "Lord Asher, what happened to her?" Eliza asked, her eyes searching for the truth. Lord Asher sighed deeply and put down his fork. "I was hoping to spare you from the darker parts of this family's history. Lady Asher's death was a tragedy. She was found in the West Wing, and it was ruled an accident, but not everyone was convinced." "Why wasn't everyone convinced? What do they think happened?" Eliza pressed, needing to know more. "Some believed it was not an accident, that someone in the house might have wished her harm," Lord Asher admitted, his voice low. Eliza felt her heart racing. "Do you believe it was an accident?" Lord Asher paused, then looked directly at her. "I honestly don't know, Eliza. It happened long before my time, but I know it casts a long shadow over Asher Hall." Eliza nodded, understanding the weight of his words. "Thank you for telling me the truth. I think it's important we acknowledge these things, not hide from them." Lord Asher nodded. "You're right. Perhaps it's time to face the past, so we can move forward." Eliza felt a mix of relief and determination. She was going to find out the whole story for both their sakes. This chapter marks a pivotal moment where Eliza confronts Lord Asher with her findings, leading to a deeper understanding between them and setting a path toward uncovering the full truth about Lady Asher's mysterious death. Chapter 13. The Festival of Samhain. A few days later, the Festival of Samhain approached, marking the end of the harvest season and the beginning of winter. It was a time when the veil between the living and the dead was said to be the thinnest. Eliza sensed that this might be a significant time for uncovering more about the past of Asher Hall. Lord Asher, will we be doing anything special for the festival of Samhain? Eliza asked one morning as they walked through the garden. Yes, it's a tradition here to light bonfires and remember the past. It's a good time to honor those who came before us, Lord Asher replied, his voice reflective. Eliza nodded, feeling the weight of the history around her. Do you think it's a time when truths can come to light? Lord Asher looked at her, understanding her meaning. Perhaps. It is said that the spirits of the past can communicate more easily during Samhain. Maybe Lady Asher's spirit will find peace. That evening, as the sun set, the staff at Asher Hall lit a large bonfire in the garden. The flames crackled and leapt into the darkening sky. People from nearby houses came over, bringing food and stories to share. Eliza stood near the fire, watching the flames. She felt a strange sense of anticipation. As the fire burned brighter, she thought she saw a figure on the edge of the light, a woman in a long dress, watching her. Eliza walked closer, her heart beating fast. As she approached, the figure became clearer. It was Lady Asher, just as she had appeared in her dream. Lady Asher? Eliza called softly. The figure turned to her, a sad smile on her face. Eliza, thank you for remembering me. Why are you still here? What keeps you from finding peace? Eliza asked, her voice trembling. There is still a secret here, in the house, in the West Wing, Lady Asher replied, her voice echoing strangely. What secret? Eliza pressed, eager to understand. Find the truth and set it free. Only then can I find peace, Lady Asher said, before slowly fading away into the night. Eliza stood there, shivering not from the cold, but from the realization that she needed to find the secret of the West Wing to help Lady Asher's spirit rest. She turned and found Lord Asher standing behind her, watching her with concern. Did you see her? Eliza asked. I saw you talking, but I saw no one, Lord Asher said quietly. We need to find out what's hidden in the West Wing, Eliza said firmly. Lord Asher nodded slowly. Tomorrow, we will open the West Wing. It's time to face whatever is there. Eliza felt a mix of fear and resolve. She was determined to uncover the truth, no matter what it might be. This chapter intensifies the supernatural element with Eliza's encounter with Lady Asher's spirit during the festival of Samhain, setting the stage for the pivotal exploration of the forbidden West Wing. Chapter 14. Escape from Asher Hall. The next day, Lord Asher and Eliza stood before the locked door to the West Wing. The air was heavy with anticipation. Lord Asher held a large old key in his hand. Are you sure you want to do this? He asked Eliza, his voice tense. Yes, I need to know the truth, Eliza replied firmly, her resolve strengthened by the encounter with Lady Asher's spirit. Lord Asher nodded, inserted the key, and turned it. The lock clicked, and the door creaked open slowly. They stepped inside, the air cool and musty from being closed off for so many years. The West Wing was dimly lit by the light coming through the dirty windows. They walked down the hallway, their footsteps echoing in the silence. Dust covered everything, and the furniture was shrouded in white sheets. They came to a room at the end of the hallway. Lord Asher pushed open the door, and they entered. The room was a library, filled with old books and papers. In the center of the room, a desk stood with papers scattered across it. Eliza approached the desk and began looking through the papers. Among them, she found a diary. She opened it and began to read. The diary belonged to Lady Asher. As she read, Eliza discovered the secret that had been haunting Asher Hall. Lady Asher had written about discovering a betrayal by someone she trusted deeply. The last entry was frantic, filled with fear for her life. I cannot believe the deceit. I must confront him tonight, the last entry read. Eliza showed the diary to Lord Asher. This is it. This is why she couldn't find peace. She was betrayed and afraid. Lord Asher read the diary, his face pale. This changes everything. We need to set things right. Suddenly, they heard a noise outside the room. When they went to check, they found the door to the west wing locked from the outside. They were trapped. Someone doesn't want us to leave with the truth, Eliza said, looking at Lord Asher. We need to find another way out, he replied. They searched the room and found a small window. It was just big enough for them to climb through. They managed to escape from the west wing through the window, landing in the garden below. Once free, they hurried back to the main part of the house. We must reveal the truth about Lady Asher. We owe it to her, Eliza said as they walked. Yes, we will. We'll clear her name and help her spirit find peace, Lord Asher agreed. That night they shared their discovery with the staff and planned to make the truth known to the wider community, ensuring that Lady Asher's story would be remembered correctly. This chapter unfolds the mystery behind Lady Asher's unrest with the discovery of her diary, leading to a dramatic escape from the West Wing, reinforcing the bond between Eliza and Lord Asher as they commit to rectifying the past. Chapter 15. A New Beginning. After revealing the truth about Lady Asher, the atmosphere at Asher Hall began to change. The dark cloud that had hung over the estate seemed to lift, and even the staff noticed a difference. One morning, as Eliza and Lord Asher sat in the breakfast room, they discussed their plans for the future. Eliza, with the truth about Lady Asher now known, I feel a great burden has been lifted from this house, Lord Asher said, looking out at the sunny garden. Yes, I feel it too. The air feels lighter, and even the flowers seem brighter, Eliza replied, smiling. I've been thinking, Lord Asher continued, turning to her with a serious look. This experience has shown me how important it is to face the past. I would like to start a foundation in Lady Asher's name, to help others who are seeking justice or trying to solve historical mysteries. Eliza was moved by his idea. That's a wonderful way to honor her memory, and it would give meaning to everything we've gone through. I was hoping you would say that. I would like you to help me run it. Together we can make sure that what happened here is not repeated, Lord Asher said, reaching for her hand. Eliza squeezed his hand warmly. I would love that. Working together, helping others. It sounds like the perfect new beginning. They spent the next few weeks planning and setting up the foundation. They reached out to historians, lawyers, and other experts who could contribute their knowledge and skills. As the foundation began to take shape, Eliza felt a deep sense of purpose. She was helping to make a difference, and it filled her with joy. One evening, as they walked through the gardens of Asher Hall, Eliza looked up at the stars and felt Lady Asher's presence around them. Thank you, Lady Asher, for guiding us to the truth. I hope you are at peace now, she whispered. I believe she is, Lord Asher said, looking at the sky. And I believe we are on the path to creating many good things in her honor. Eliza nodded, feeling content and excited about the future. Together they walked back to the house, ready to face whatever challenges and opportunities lay ahead. This chapter closes the story arc with a sense of resolution and renewal. Eliza and Lord Asher's decision to start a foundation not only honors Lady Asher's memory, but also sets them on a path of shared purpose and future collaboration. Chapter 16. Epilogue. A Letter Unsent. Months had passed since Eliza and Lord Asher established the foundation in Lady Asher's name. The work had brought them closer together, and Asher Hall had become a place of hope and new beginnings. One day, while Eliza was organizing some old books in the library, she stumbled upon an unsent letter tucked away in a forgotten drawer. The handwriting was elegant and familiar. It was Lady Asher's. Curious, Eliza opened the letter and began to read. My dear sister, the letter stated, I feel compelled to write to you even though these words may never reach you. There is something comforting about putting my thoughts on paper. If you are reading this, know that I have found peace. I hope my story will one day be told and understood, not for my sake, but for those who still suffer in silence. Eliza felt a tear roll down her cheek. She continued to read, touched by the words. I trust that the truth will prevail, even if it is years from now. To those who uncover my story, I offer my gratitude. You have brought light to my shadowed existence. Closing the letter gently, Eliza looked up to find Lord Asher standing in the doorway, watching her with a soft expression. What have you found? He asked, walking over. A letter from Lady Asher, one she never sent. It's beautiful and sad, Eliza replied, handing it to him. Lord Asher read the letter quietly, then looked at Eliza. She knew someone would eventually learn the truth. It seems she has been guiding us all along. Yes, I believe so, Eliza said, feeling a deep connection with the past and those who had lived in Asher Hall before her. Let's add this letter to the archive at the Foundation. It's a poignant reminder of why we do this work, Lord Asher suggested. I think that's a perfect idea, Eliza agreed. They walked together to the Foundation's office, feeling the presence of the past intertwining with their present efforts. They knew their work was important, not just to honor one woman's memory, but to help others seek and find truth and justice. As the sun set over Asher Hall, Eliza felt a sense of completeness and purpose. She knew she was exactly where she was meant to be, doing exactly what she was meant to do. This chapter ties up the story, showing how the past and present merge through the discovery of Lady Asher's letter, reinforcing Eliza and Lord Asher's commitment to their foundation and to making a difference in the world. The epilogue provides closure, with a look towards a hopeful future influenced by the lessons of the past. The end. The Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, CEFR, provides a standard for describing the proficiency level of language learners across Europe, and increasingly in other countries. The story provided in this conversation is designed at an A1 level. Here's why and how the content aligns with this level. 1. Basic vocabulary and structures. Example: I must confront him tonight. The last entry read. Explanation: the phrase uses simple, straightforward vocabulary that conveys clear intent without complex language structures. 2. Simple sentences. Example: Yes, I need to know the truth, Eliza replied firmly. Explanation: this is a direct response with a basic sentence structure consisting of a subject and a predicate, which is typical of A1 level dialogues. 3. Personal relevance. Example: Thank you, Lady Asher, for guiding us to the truth. I hope you are at peace now, she whispered. Explanation: this involves personal emotions and expressions of hope, which connect the speaker personally to the situation, making it relevant at an A1 level. 4. Interaction ability. Example: Are you sure you want to do this? He asked Eliza, his voice tense. Explanation: this interaction showcases a simple question that seeks confirmation, a type of interaction expected at the A1 level, where the speaker may need assistance in understanding and responding. The dialogues and narrative sections are constructed to ensure clarity and ease of understanding, using elementary lexis and syntax. This approach helps A1 learners grasp the storyline without being overwhelmed by language complexity, making it an appropriate educational tool for beginners. Here are 10 words and phrases from the story, explained with their meanings, examples from the story, and their usage in real-life contexts. 1. Dinner. Meaning: the main meal of the day, usually eaten in the evening. Example from the story: Eliza, it's time for dinner, her father called softly. Real-life example: we should meet for dinner sometime this week. 2. Cold. Meaning: low temperature, the opposite of hot, is often used to describe weather or physical sensations. Example from the story: the night is dark and cold, she thought. Real-life example: It's cold outside. Make sure to wear a coat. 3. Sad. Meaning, feeling or showing sorrow. Unhappy. Example from the story. Eliza felt sad, but she knew she had to find out the truth. Real-life example. I was sad to hear about your recent loss. 4. Confused. Meaning, unable to think clearly, not understanding. Example from the story. What is happening? Eliza asked, looking confused. Real-life example. I'm confused about the directions you gave me. Can you explain them again? 5. Truth. Meaning, the facts or reality of a situation. Example from the story. Eliza felt sad, but she knew she had to find out the truth. Real-life example. We are all seeking the truth about the incident. 6. Night. Meaning, the period of darkness in each 24 hours, the time from sunset to sunrise. Example from the story. The night is dark and cold, she thought. Real-life example. During the summer, the nights are much shorter. 7. Dark. Meaning, with little or no light. Example from the story. The night is dark and cold, she thought. Real-life example. It's too dark in here. Please turn on the light. 8. Father. Meaning, a male parent. Example from the story. Eliza, it's time for dinner, her father called softly. Real-life example. My father will be joining us for lunch today. 9. Looked. Meaning, to direct one's gaze towards someone or something. Example from the story. What is happening? Eliza asked, looking confused. Real-life example. She looked at the menu before ordering her meal. 10. Find out. Meaning, to discover information or learn a fact. Example from the story. Eliza felt sad, but she knew she had to find out the truth. Real-life example. I need to find out when the next train leaves. These words and phrases are common in both conversational and written English, and they represent fundamental vocabulary that A1 level learners are encouraged to understand and use in their daily interactions. From the story, readers can learn several valuable lessons, 3 of which include: 1. The importance of facing the past. The story emphasizes that understanding and confronting historical events, no matter how uncomfortable, is crucial for healing and moving forward. Through Eliza's journey of uncovering the secrets of Asher Hall and the mysterious circumstances around Lady Asher's death, the narrative shows that the past, if not addressed, can continue to impact the present and future. This is a broader life lesson on the importance of facing difficult truths and dealing with them constructively. Application. In real life, this can relate to personal or societal issues. Addressing unresolved issues, whether they be family secrets or historical injustices, is essential for personal growth and societal progress. 2. Curiosity and perseverance lead to discovery. Eliza's character demonstrates that being curious and persistent in seeking the truth can lead to important discoveries and personal fulfillment. Her determination to learn about the history of Asher Hall and the fate of Lady Asher eventually leads to significant changes, not only in her life, but also in the lives of those around her. Application. This lesson can be applied in educational settings, careers, or personal development. Curiosity drives learning and innovation, and perseverance helps overcome obstacles that might otherwise prevent success. 3. The power of redemption and reconciliation. The story showcases the power of redemption and reconciliation, as seen through Lord Asher's transformation and the establishment of a foundation to honor Lady Asher. By acknowledging the past wrongs and actively working to make amends, the characters create a positive legacy out of a tragic history. Application. This is particularly relevant in real-life situations involving conflicts or where past harms have affected relationships. The ability to acknowledge mistakes, seek forgiveness, and work towards reconciliation can restore trust and build stronger relationships, whether between individuals, within families, or in larger societal contexts. These lessons enrich the narrative, making it not only a story about mystery and historical secrets, but also a deeper reflection on human values and ethical actions. This story and voiceover have been provided by English Made Easy. Learn through stories. Copying or re-uploading is strictly prohibited.